Hey, so I'm walking in Barcelona right now, and I happen to run into Céline Pannetier.
Yeah.
And so we're going to go and walk down the street. Céline's doing a good job at keeping me from walking into the traffic, unlike in Paris, where apparently I can walk into traffic and that's a little bit different.
Yeah, here we tend to stop when the traffic light tells us to stop, which was quite a challenge for me coming from Paris, but I got used to the Catalan way.
So everybody stops here in Catalan, right?
Right.
So let me ask you this, do they call it here Catalonia? Is that what you call it, or they just call it Pays Catalan, or what do they say?
Oh, it's Catalonia.
Catalonia, okay.
Actually, when they're talking about the Catalonian region in France, they're talking about North Catalonia, Northern Catalonia.
And so that goes, that's like, I think that Perpignan would be like the capital of
Northern Catalonia.
Northern Catalonia.
Right.
And then I think like the epicenter here is like Giron.
Yeah, Girona, yeah. And
So
when they're talking about Països Catalans,
Right.
that would be the Catalan countries, or Catalan, they include Balearics and part of the Valencian. Valencian is a little bit like Catalan, so it's a wider cultural area.
That's interesting. I spoke with a guy one time in Perpignan, and he wasn't Catalan, but he said he could understand it because he spoke, what's the other language that they speak just north of there?
Occitan.
Occitanie. Right, so he was Occitanie or Occitan or whatever you say in French, and he said that he could understand Catalan because of that, which I
Yeah.
thought was very interesting.
Well, actually, this happens as well with, I mean, if you're French, maybe not listening to them talking because there is very strong accent, but when I arrived to Catalonia, I didn't speak a word of it, of Catalan,
Right.
and I still could read basic text because it looked very similar to French.
It does look a lot like French.
Exactly. And
Sometimes it's exact.
Yeah.
It's funny because in the Perpignan area, you'll see road signs.
Yeah.
And one will be Catalan, and the other will be French, and it'll be exact.
it's written the same.
Yeah.
It won't sound the same
Yeah,
when you talk it out loud, which is very funny. But yes, I mean, it's all Latin languages. There are some similarities, and you can hold to it like a branch to get a general sense of the conversation.
Hey, so the reason that I met you is because you're a street photographer, and so I got a hold of you today. I was hoping that we'd do the video and talk. So I guess we can start at the beginning. Céline, I know that you were on the live stream, but we can probably cover some of that stuff too. What made you decide to do street photography? Was there something that you saw that was online, or did you go to an exhibition, or what was kind of the jumping point or the starting point for you?
I think it's way more subtle. I mean, I've always loved photography. When I was very young, almost a kid, a teenager, well, a kid actually, I started with film back then. And,
Oh, that's interesting. So now what kind of camera did you start with when you first shot? You remember your first camera?
Yeah,
What
I
was that?
remember. It was, you remember this cardbox single-use Fuji camera? I was maybe, I can't remember exactly the age, but I was under 10. And our parents sent us to spend a 1-week holiday in Normandy, green, then rainy Normandy. And I came back from those holidays with this cardbox single-use camera, and my mother went to the lab to get the pictures revealed. How do you say that in English?
Developed.
Developed,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
That's French. Right? And she came back so very hungry, and I didn't
Angry?
understand. Yeah,
Why was she angry?
because she expected, I guess, pictures of my siblings and my cousins, and it was 26 pictures of cows. But I was just like, what are you expecting? You're sending me to the countryside, and the only thing there are cows. So that was the very first experience. And then I got
So when was it that you moved on to humans?
to humans. Oh, it came when around 18, because I had been playing. I've been taking pictures of my brother, my younger brother, the poor one. It was just like a poupée, you know, a model for me. I cut his hair and I dressed him. You're gonna
like,
pose that way.
So a poupée in English they call like a little doll
A
for
little
you.
doll, yeah, and a model doll for me. He was very, very patient. Well, now he's got a lot of pictures of him as a kid, so he's not complaining.
He's lucky. See, that's the lucky thing. Now, did your brother get upset when you tried to take his pictures back in the day?
After a while, but he was very patient, and I think he didn't give a shit actually. It was just as long as I got attention, I'm gonna play the thing.
So you've been in Barcelona. You're originally from Paris.
Right.
I'll make sure that everybody knows that. And then you came to Barcelona 20 years ago.
Right.
And so you started doing street photography here in Barcelona.
I resume my love story with photography in Barcelona actually. When I came here 20 years ago, I mean, I had a full-time job and I didn't take a lot of pictures. I mean, I still love pictures.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a lot of exhibitions, and I've always had a great interest for photography.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't shoot a lot. And then something like 10, 12 years ago, I lost this job. And in those moments, my only reflex, okay, let's take a risk. my reflex to, maybe it was a kind of a sanity reflex or,
Right.
you know, mental health reflex, was to grab my camera and go 1 hour a day in the street and try and take pictures. I was back then very focusing on the strong shadows that I wasn't used to when I was living in Paris.
Yeah, you
And-
definitely have some stronger shadows here in Barcelona than in Paris.
Exactly. So this was my first re-encounter with photography, let's say. And after a few years, I realized that, yeah, I did that almost on a daily basis. Came more or less the Instagram thing at that time. So I started to share. My first account was only with the phone, street photography with phone. And then I started to share more, and I discovered other street photographers.
And that was on Instagram?
That was mostly on Instagram. Yeah, I had Facebook, but when I really connected with so many great street photographers and discovered the vastness and the density and the richness of the genre in itself,
Right.
was first through Instagram.
It's funny how Instagram is like the gateway drug for so many street photographers.
Was.
You know, but now like they're trying to do everything but photography there. It's so
Right
so
now,
strange.
Instagram is the worst place for a photographer because still pictures, they don't work anymore. You need to make reels if you want to get a minimum
Yeah, you-
visibility.
You got to do reels. You got to do this. You got. In fact. Oops. All right. Hey, so before you lost your hat with the wind,
Yeah, and
Céline.
I'm wondering, shall I put it on again or shall I just hold it in the end for the rest of the video? Maybe I'm gonna
leave that as your call. That's gonna be your call whether
Let's
you
do
want to
it
be
hatless.
hat or hat without.
Let's be bold.
Sans chapeau.
Sans chapeau. Yeah, we were talking, about Instagram and how
Yeah.
it's changing, how it's really tough for photographers right now to get a little visibility.
Yeah, you know, but there was our guest that we had last week on the live stream was Mark Zilberman, and he actually brought up a good point. He said it's free, so you kind of get what you pay for. So, and I thought, you know, I'm kind of asking a lot for something that's free. I got to meet you and lots of other great street photographers because of shitty Instagram, so.
Well, true enough, that's something, because it was playing its role as a social network back then. So
You know what it feels like right now? It feels like you're in a bad relationship. with Instagram.
I mean-
and it's Instagram's
Yeah.
like, man, I just don't fucking love you that much anymore.
No, exactly. I
don't,
stay with you because I have to.
Right.
I got no better option.
I'm staying with you because like I don't want to have to go through like the lawyers in the divorce court and everything like that. But like I'm just not that into you.
That's a little
and
bit
so-
like this. That's a
So
little bit
I'm
like
like,
this.
and it's also kind of like they're a little bit passive aggressive. Yeah, we really like your pictures, you know, but not really that much, you know, because you know you should, you know, the picture shit. You should be moving on to videos because that's what really, you know, it's like they kind of know better.
Actually, there is another shift that is interesting. I mean, we're gonna see where this leads us because it's changing as well right now. But
What's the other shift? This should be
as
good.
a photographer, I got interested into NFTs,
Okay.
which isn't an obligation for photographers. To me, it was very interesting. But because of that, I realized that the platform where everything was happening was Twitter, which didn't make sense at the beginning, saying Twitter is for words.
Right.
So how are my picture gonna show in this social media? Back then, 2 years ago or 1.5 years ago, I realized that a lot of photographers had shifted already to Twitter. And the nice thing about Twitter is that it rewards the conversation. So I started to talk with a lot of photographers that I did follow on Instagram. Sometimes they did follow me and never we had really talked and discussed and shared opinions about one picture, a frame, the decision black and white or color, blah, blah, blah. All those conversations never really happened in Instagram and did happen on Twitter.
It's funny how Twitter is so good for that. I know that Instagram right now is trying to do a thing called Threads. But I just don't see it as good as Twitter, quite honestly. I know that they're trying to make it like Twitter, but Twitter's
we're gonna
pretty
see
good.
because Twitter was pretty good, but we've had a few hiccups recently with the algorithm. And,
The algorithm's kind of funny now.
Yeah, I call Elon Musk the algorithm. So, I mean, it's not optimum, and so a lot of people are looking with a lot of interest what Thread is gonna do. For the moment, only US-based people can have access to it. I don't know if other areas of the world, but in Europe we can't access it yet.
Yeah, I tried to get it with my French phone. I couldn't get it. I was able to get it with my American phone.
Exactly.
But the issue is once you download it, keep this in mind, I don't know if you have or not, once you download it, you can never cancel it. Otherwise, you cancel your Instagram.
Okay. Well, I
So-
didn't try.
So,
Well, I still have a doubt about it, but I might, you know, we had doubts about Instagram and we
Right.
had doubts about Twitter, and we still need it as photographers to
That's right.
reach our audience. So
Hey.
the thing about Thread is that this Senor Zuckerberg is saying that it's going to be decentralized, and I have a problem with him saying decentralized is the master of centralization of data.
I'm not sure that I believe him when he says.
The background, I had finished another series that was about single-use plastics in the central market of Barcelona. And that series was very, very sharp contrasted shadows and point of light. And I felt like, okay, I've explored this terrain already, and I feel like I don't do anything new. And I decided, okay, I'm gonna use the flash. I've never done that. Well, I've done that once in a while, but I've never done street photography with flash. And when I started to kind of probe the flash and how it works with my camera, the idea was I'm gonna come here and shoot my friends, the pigeons. And after a very, very short time, I realized that I always had those wonderful interactions between humans and tourists, and it was just like a pattern, you know. Kids, wherever they're coming from, see pigeons, run after them, pigeons fly, come back a second afterwards. and pigeons waiting for adults to drop them grains. Wherever the country they're from, you see all the tourists that are coming. I don't know if the, oh no, the lady's not there, but there are a few ladies that their only job is selling tiny bags of grains. Can be rice or can be corn or whatever.
Rice and corn, that kind of thing.
Which only purpose is to feed the pigeons. And I felt, I must say, and this is funny, I hate them. I find them disgusting, repellent. But after a few years shooting them and this interaction with humans, because I really saw those patterns, they recognize us and they know the guy that's gonna feed them, the guys that not gonna feed them, and I kind of know them. I don't say I like them, but I know them, and I also got some very interesting. You see, they're flying over. Okay.
All right, Céline, let's see if we can get some shots of these pigeons here.
Okay,
so I'm gonna get a shot of
you're gonna reveal how I work, my strategy. We've got to say this flash isn't meant for this camera, so when I shoot, it goes full power, no control at all.
Hey, so that's probably
funny as well. There's the girl.
You got a lot of great pictures just in that short period of time. How long did it take you to develop that technique, like to come in there with the flash and then kind of figure it out? Was it just, were you like thinking, oh, I'm just going to go to the pigeon place, and did it just work out the first time, or was that something that you had to go back a couple times for?
No, this is something that grew actually. The first time it was, okay, let's just try something. Came back home and said, oh, that's interesting. I kind of like the result. Let's do it again. And after a while, I was, of course, looking the unexpected or never seen before pictures, because when you're working a lot on the same place, you repeat a lot of shots unwillingly. Mm-hmm. So I've been trying to shoot new angles so that I got different things. And then probably, be careful, there's also this thing that comes with experience. I'm a little bit more seasoned than when I started 10 years ago. I'm a tougher curator of my own work. So there are a lot of pictures that are okay, but they're not good enough. You know, technically
it's funny
they're
how
fine.
that works, though, isn't it? Because there's like pictures that are technically good, but you're like, no, that's just not the one. And I think the curve keeps going up the longer that you shoot.
Exactly, but I think it's interesting, and I think that goes with experience. You're more demanding, and that's valid for anything, not only photography. And the better you get, the more demanding you are. You know, you never stop at, oh, that's okay enough, I'm gonna stop there.
Until you're impossible to deal with. Until nobody wants to talk to you anymore. No, do not speak to me unless you speak perfectly. A little comedy there. But I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
But I'm the same way with I find like the longer I shoot, the more picky I am, selective I am with the ones that I probably 5 years ago would have been in love with.
Yeah, but I guess it's a natural process. I must say that I've seen a lot of people, street photography is a very tough genre because you don't control anything but maybe your camera, and you're depending on so many things outside that are not under your control that you've got to learn frustration, patience, perseverance, and I know that there are some people that would want to the results come maybe a little bit faster, and I think maybe with the time you know that you can spend months shooting without getting a wow one, you know? Mm-hmm. And this is something I think that comes with experience. At the very beginning, I'm seeing my very first pictures and I'm seeing them now, and it's just like, wow.
But
I wasn't that demanding, you know?
Sometimes you go back and look at your pictures and you see some that you missed.
Right.
I mean, not that often. But you know.
That's correct.
Every once in a while.
Because maybe back then they were too edgy for your young eye.
All right, so we got a little bit of time left here on the old camera, Céline. So, do you have anything that you want to say in closing? I know we kind of talked about a little bit of everything today.
Yeah.
But I think we're probably maybe got three to maybe 10 minutes left here. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. So we talked about the genre, the dedication that is important. Please, street photographers that start street photography with a lot of excitement, and they're willing to discover the joys. Don't give up.
That's true. That's very good advice.
The first time you're maybe a little bit disappointed, or you feel that it doesn't come fast enough, please stay and go on shooting. That's the best advice I've ever received.
Because you call that shooting through it. You shoot through it.
They didn't say exactly that, but it was shoot and go on shooting and go on shooting and go on shooting, and that's the best way to improve and to discover what you like and the techniques you're good at and the techniques you'd rather avoid because it's not pleasing for you. So, and there is so much to explore. Actually, there are a lot of genres. Some people work in black and white, some people in color, some people with flash, some people with 35, people working with more wider angles, and it's a beautiful territory to explore.
All right, we'll go ahead and cut it off there. Thank you very much, Céline.
Thank you to you. It's been so nice to have you and to shoot with you in the streets of Barcelona, and I'd love to see more street photographers saying hi when they're coming to Barcelona. So please do.
Reach out to you.
Exactly.